Today's topic is what if analysis. In Excel, the topic of what if analysis is fairly important, and here we would be discussing the three ways in which we can implement this feature of Excel. Now, the first thing that I would like to bring to your notice is where do you find this option of what if analysis? As you can see, there is the data tab. So if you go to the data tab, you will find the data tools ribbon. Under the data tools ribbon, you will find this option of what if analysis. And what if analysis can be implemented in one of three ways. As you can see from the drop down list, we can either go for scenario manager or goal seek or data table. Let's look at each of these options one by one. Let's start with goal seek. So if I click on goal seek, or let's do one thing, let's populate our Excel sheet with data and then we can demonstrate what goal seek is all about. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say you have appeared for the examination on a few subjects. Let's say you have appeared for the examination on physics and you have scored 78 out of 100. Okay, so the maximum marks here we are talking about is 100. You have appeared for the paper on economics. You have scored 83. And you have appeared for the paper on psychology. I hope I got the spelling right. And you have scored, let's say, 81. There is one examination which is left to be taken, and that is the one on, let's say, information systems. So this is the examination that is left, the examination on information systems. Now, you want to understand how much you need to score in this paper, information systems, in order to end up with an overall percentage of, let's say, 85. So I'll repeat the scenario again. Let's say you have appeared for 3 papers, physics, economics, and psychology, and these are the marks that you have obtained. The only paper that remains to be taken is information systems, and you want to get an idea of how much you need to score in this paper, information systems, in order to end up with an overall average of 85. I hope the idea is clear. In order to understand this criteria that you're trying to achieve, in order to understand how much you need to score in information systems in order to get an overall average of 85, what you first need to do is you need to find the current average. Okay, you need to find the current average. So what you can do is you can say equal to, you can use the average formula. Okay, you can use the average formula and you take into consideration all the subject marks, including this blank cell, mind you. Do not forget to include this blank cell against information systems. You have to take it into account while calculating the average, right? Now let's press enter and there you have it. So the current average is 80.67, let's say. So if I go to the home tab, I can decrease the number of decimal places. So if I click on this option, as you can see, a few times I get 2 places of precision. Now, what is my goal? My goal is to achieve an overall of 85. That is my goal. And how do I want to achieve it? I want to achieve it by scoring marks or by obtaining a certain value against information systems. So such a scenario calls for the use of goal seek. Now you might be thinking that this is a very trivial example. I can do this manually. I can do the calculation manually. I can do the math manually and find out the value. Yes, I agree with you. In scenarios like these, in situations like these, where you have small amounts of data, the task may seem trivial. But if you scale this up, which can be easily done, you would find that this is a very important feature to have. So whenever you are given a case where you have to understand how one particular value depends on a certain set of values, or how the goal that you're trying to achieve depends on a certain set of values, then it is wise to go for the goal seek feature. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to go to the data tab. Under the data tab, you have the data tools option. Under data tools, you have what if analysis. Let's click on it and let's click on the goal seek option. Now, the moment we click on the goal seek option, we find that there is this dialog box which appears. And here there are three options or three text boxes to be filled up. The first one is set cell. So which is the cell that we are trying to set? Which is the cell that we are trying to fill up with a value? Of course, we are trying to fill up this cell, the cell B5, which corresponds to the marks to be obtained in information systems. So I'll enter B5 as the value for this cell, for this option, set cell. Now, what is the value that we want to set it to? The value that we want to set it to depends on the way we are organizing our data, right? So the thing is, in this case, we have to be a bit careful, okay? Because you might get an idea that since we are trying to find out how much we need to achieve in information systems, you might be tempted to think that we'll have to set the cell B5 with this value. But if you just step back for a moment and think about it, we are actually trying to find, or we are actually trying to calculate the average, isn't it? We are trying to calculate the average, which depends on the value of information systems. So ideally, the cell that we should be setting is not B5 but B6, which corresponds to the average. Think about it. Because it is this particular cell, the cell B6, which contains my average value. And that is what I'm trying to find. That is my goal of achieving an average of 85. So the cell that I should be setting is the one which contains the formula for average. Just a while back you saw that in the cell B6 I had typed the formula for average in order to find the current average, and it is the average that I'm trying to set. It is the average that I'm trying to change. So we should set the cell, or we should fill up this option of set cell with that particular cell address which contains the formula which we have previously used. In our case, the cell B6 contains the formula for average which we just used, and that's why we should set cell, or we should insert in this set cell option the address B6 which contains the average formula. And what is the value that we want to set it to? We are trying to achieve a percentage of, or an average of 85. So we'll set it to 85. And which cell do we want to change in order to get to this goal of ours of 85? We want to change the cell which corresponds to the marks of information systems, and that happens to be B5. Now, after setting all these values, if we click on OK, you'll find that some calculation takes place, and there you go. So we need to obtain a score of 98 out of 100 in the paper information systems if we are to get an average of 85. So this particular cell corresponds to average, right? This is how you can go ahead and use the goal seek feature. Moving on, let's talk about data tables and scenario managers. So I have a question lined up for you. So you can pause the video for a moment and go through this question. Okay, I hope you have gone through the question. Let's talk about it on a step-by-step basis. As you can see, if I were to sum up, or if I were to summarize all the information that is given here, there is a company which deals in ready-made clothes and it sells, the highlighting points are these, sells 400 pieces in the foreign market. So let me highlight this, 400 pieces in the foreign market, and price of rupees 900 per piece. There are 700 pieces to be sold in the local market. Again, price is rupees 500 per piece. And the manufacturing cost is rupees 300 per piece. Right? Now they're asking us to use data tables and examine the profitability if the cost of manufacturing varies with these values. So initially the manufacturing cost is 300, and we want to understand how will the profitability, which happens to be our target here, how does the profitability vary if the manufacturing cost is also varied. So if we change the manufacturing cost from 300 to 320, how will the profit change? How will it change if we go for 350? How will it change if we go to 380? This variation we want to understand. Okay, so let's see how we can go about it. I'll come to the next part shortly after I'm done with data tables. The next part that you see here highlighted, this deals with scenario manager, will come to this shortly. Let's talk about data tables first. So if I go here, and I'll have to go a bit back and forth, so please bear with me. So I'll go to a new sheet and let me format it in a particular way so that things are visible to you. Just increase the font size, increase the width, enable the wrap text. Yeah, I guess we are good. All right, let's plug in the values. So the first thing is it sells 400 pieces in the foreign market. Okay, so number of pieces sold in the foreign market. Let's bring it in. So number of pieces in sold in foreign market. If you want, you can skip this portion of the video where I'll be entering the data, and then you can come back. Okay, no issues. I'll just enter the values one after the other. So number of pieces sold in the foreign market happens to be 400. Again, the price is rupees 900 per piece. So price per item is 900. Right? This is price per item in foreign market, mind you. So this is the price per item in foreign market, happens to be 900, and 700 pieces are sold in the local market. Fair enough. So number of pieces sold in the local market happens to be, can I recheck that? 700. Okay, and the price is 500 per piece. So it's 700, and the price per item in local market is 500, if I got that right. So it's 500, and the manufacturing cost happens to be 300. Let's verify those values again. Yeah, manufacturing cost is 300 per piece. The number of pieces in local market is 700. Price is 500 per piece. So I guess we got all that right. Yeah, price per item is 500. Number of pieces is 700. Great. Now after filling in all the values, let's check what is our target. The target that we are trying to achieve is the profitability. We have been asked to examine the profitability. Fine. Let's calculate the profitability then. Let's calculate the profitability given these values. So what is profit? Profit is simply the cost price being subtracted from the selling price. Now how do we calculate the selling price? So you can go at it directly. You can directly plug in all the cell addresses to find the profit, where you're calculating the total cost price and the total selling price, or you can go step by step like I'll be showing you. Because if you go step by step, then the chances of making mistakes reduces drastically. So if I were to calculate the total cost price, I'm writing cost price as CP, and what would that be? Very simple. Take the manufacturing cost, multiply it with the number of pieces sold in the foreign market, plus the number of pieces sold in the local market. Very simple. That will give you the total cost price, right? All right. Now, if I'm looking to find the total selling price, what will I do? I will take the price per item. So I'll purposely put brackets so that you can understand clearly. I'll take the price per item in the foreign market. I'll multiply it with the number of pieces sold in the foreign market, and I'll add this with the number of, again, I'll open up the bracket, number of pieces sold in the local market multiplied with the price per item in the local market. And there you go. The total selling price comes out to be this large value. Finally, the profit will be what? Straightforward, total selling price minus the total cost price. And there you go. This is the profit, right? Okay, so there you go. Your profit is ready, your target variable is ready. Now it's time to bring in the remaining values, right? So we have to examine the profitability given these manufacturing cost values, 320, 350, 380. Okay, so let's see. Let's first write down the different manufacturing cost values. So the manufacturing, I hope I'm getting the spellings right. In case there is any mistake on my end, you can leave it in the comment section. So 320, 350, 380. These are the various manufacturing cost values, right? In fact, instead of putting the header manufacturing cost here, I'll do something else. You'll understand it shortly. So what we can do is, or we can bring that back, we can actually bring that back. So let it be here. And now what we'll be doing is we'll be establishing a link. Okay, we'll be establishing a link between the profit, because that is our target, and these new manufacturing cost values. Now, what do I mean by this link? It's straightforward. See, what we need to do is we need to go to this particular cell against the manufacturing cost, and we can say equal to, and we can simply link it with this particular cell because it contains the formula for the target variable. The target variable in this case is the profit. So there you go. This is the manufacturing cost. This is the profit rather. The value that you see here in F1, this is the profit. Okay. Now, let's see how we can make use of the data tables in order to generate the profit for the remaining manufacturing cost values. Okay, I hope the linking part is clear. If it is not clear to you, just rewind the video a bit and I think you'll be able to understand. Otherwise, again, you can leave it. You can leave a comment in the section given below. I'll get back to you. Now you select this entire region. So when you're selecting, it should include all these values, right? It should include all these values. Now again, go to the data tab. Under the data tab, you find the what if analysis. Click on it. You go on to data table. And yes, this is the important part. Here you'll have to enter two values, the row input cell and the column input cell. Now this is fairly interesting. Try to understand how many or what is the feature that you're trying to vary here. You're trying to vary only one feature, which is the manufacturing cost. I repeat this point again. Here we are trying to vary the manufacturing cost value in order to examine the profit. We are trying out different manufacturing cost values. Okay, so these manufacturing cost values, how are they positioned? They are positioned across a column. Think about it. They're positioned across this column E. Against the column E, I have the three manufacturing cost values, 320, 350, 380. So we will not go for the row input cell, we'll go for the column input cell instead, because the manufacturing cost values are positioned along a single column. And under column input cell, we will select the input manufacturing cost that was initially used. So where is that? It is here. This was the initial manufacturing cost, right? Which was used to arrive at the final profitability. So I'll select this particular cell. Now if I click on OK, can you see? You're getting the profit values. And if you want, you can manually find the profit for each of these three cases, and you'll find that the answer comes out to be correct. So this is how you use manufacturing cost, or rather this is how you use data tables in order to examine the profitability for various manufacturing cost values. You could have also done it in a different way. You could have also done it. So here I place the manufacturing cost values column wise, right? In one column. You could have also placed it in a row. Let's see that, so that there is no confusion whatsoever. So if you look at these values, so I have 320, 350 and 380, right? The manufacturing cost values. Now under the manufacturing cost cell, so this is the cell where I've typed manufacturing cost. Right beneath it in this particular cell, we'll perform the linking. So how do we perform the linking? Type equal to, select the cell which contains the formula for calculating the target. So which cell contains the formula for calculating the target variable? The target variable in this case was the profit, and the formula for calculating the profit is in cell B8. So we'll select the cell B8 here and we'll press enter. The moment we press enter, we see that the same profit value appears here. See, here under B8 you have a value 380,000, and under D8 you have the same value. So the link has been established. Now what you need to do is you need to perform the selection, and the selection will include the manufacturing cost header, all the different manufacturing cost values, along with these empty cells corresponding to each manufacturing cost value. So the cell which contains 320, against this manufacturing cost value of 320, the corresponding cell is E8, isn't it? Because E8 will contain the profit if the manufacturing cost is 320. Similarly, F8 will contain the manufacturing cost, or will contain the profit rather, if the manufacturing cost is 350. G8 will contain the profitability if the manufacturing cost is 380. Again, if we go to what if analysis, clicking on data table, this time we can see that the manufacturing cost values 320, 350, 380, these are placed across a single row. So our row input cell will now be enabled. And what will our row input cell contain? The row input cell will contain that cell address which contains the initial manufacturing cost value. So which cell contains the initial manufacturing cost value? It's B5, because this particular cell B5 was used in order to calculate the profit in the first place. And this time, why are we using manufacturing cost as the row input cell? Because if you look at the data table selected portion, the part that you see highlighted, in this highlighted portion, it is the manufacturing cost value that we are varying. So that is the reason why we have selected this particular cell, which contains the manufacturing cost value for the initial calculation. Okay, now if I click on OK, there you go. I'm getting the same values. Can you see? I'm getting the same values, right? So this is how we can use a data table. This is how we can use a data table, and such a data table is known as a one-dimensional data table, where you're varying only one parameter. Next, let's look at the question that is given to us. If you concentrate on this part, this highlighted portion, you will find that keeping the same parameters at place, the part that I've selected and the part that we used just now with data tables, we have been asked to go for a scenario manager. We have been asked to create a few scenarios, in fact 2 scenarios to be precise, in order to understand how the profitability will vary based on different parameters. So what is the main difference between a data table and a scenario manager? In data table, you're able to vary one parameter or at max 2 parameters. In scenario manager, you have the option of varying n number of parameters. So here we have how many parameters to be varied? The manufacturing cost, the price in local market, and the price in foreign market. These are the three parameters that have to be varied. Fine. So let's see how we can go about creating the scenario manager. So again, I'll create a new sheet. Rather, I'll be using an existing sheet. If you want, again, you can skip this portion of the video where I'll be entering the data. Let me quickly set the things right. Let me enable the wrap text. Yeah. And let me copy these values, right? Because these are the same values that I'll be using. No point in typing them all over again. I'll just copy paste. Yeah. So this part is done. Now what I need to do is, once again, I have to navigate to the data tab. Under the data tab, there is the data tools ribbon. Under the data tools ribbon, there is what if analysis. So I'll click on it. And here I find the scenario manager option. This window that you see, this dialog box which opens up, it asks us to add scenarios that we want. So we have to add how many scenarios? We'll have to add two scenarios, as you can see, scenario A, scenario B, right? Okay. So let's go back. Let's click on add. Let's give the scenario a name of A. And what are the cells that will be changing? This is the interesting part. In fact, this is the most important portion. So you can just remove what is already there. And if you look at the question, you find that we have to, where is the question? Here it is. We have to vary the manufacturing cost, the price in local market, and the price in foreign market. These are the three parameters that have to be varied. Let's go back and select the cells which contain these values. So the first cell that we'll be selecting is the price in foreign market. Then you can hold down the control key and select the cell which contains the price per item in local market. And finally, you can select the cell which contains the manufacturing cost. These are the three parameters that we have been asked to vary. Click on OK. Here we have to enter the values for the first scenario. Again, going back to the question, the values that we find are 330 for manufacturing cost. Where is the manufacturing cost? The manufacturing cost is in cell B5. So where is B5? Here it is, B5. I have to change B5 to 330. Done. Going back to the question, the price in local market is 400. Great. Where is the price in local market? Price in local market, price per item in local market is in cell B4. That has to be changed to 400. Finally, the price per item in foreign market has to be 1000. Where is price per item in foreign market? It's in cell B2. Going to cell B2, let's change this to 1000. Let's verify what we have done. Yes, price per item in foreign market is 1000. In local market is 400. Manufacturing cost is 330. I guess we are good. Once you're done, you can click on this add option. Once you click on the add option, you will be prompted to create another scenario. And we have to create another scenario, right? If you go back to the question, as you can see, we have to create scenario B as well. Let's do that. The cells that we have to change, they're already selected for us from the previous scenario. Since we already created a scenario A using or changing the cells B2, B4 and B5, they remain there for our convenience. If we click on OK, again we are asked to enter new values. What are the new values? For manufacturing cost is 360. Where is manufacturing cost? Manufacturing cost is in cell B5. Change B5 to 360. Where is price? What is the price in local market? 500. Where is price in local market? Price per item in local market is 500. It's in cell B4. B4. So what is the value? It's 500. Okay. So let's change. Okay, it's already 500. Great. So it remains the same. Next thing is price per item in foreign market, which has to be 1500. Let's change B2, which contains the price per item in foreign market initially in this region, as we all can see. Let's change that to 1500. And once we are done, we have added two scenarios. We don't need to add any more scenarios. That's why let's click on OK. The moment we click on OK, we find that the two scenarios show up. Here we are given a new dialog box. We have to click on the summary option. After clicking on the summary option, let's ignore the pivot table report. We have the scenario summary option already selected for us, and the resultant cell is the profit, of course. That's the target variable. Once that is selected for us, once we have given the address for the result cells, which is B8 in my Excel sheet, I'll click on OK. The moment I click on OK, I find that a new Excel sheet has been generated. Let me increase the size here so that you can have a better look at it. Let me increase the size a bit more. Just bear with me for a while. Yeah, I think we are good. Let's bring in the borders. Go to the Home tab. Under Font, let's put in the outside borders. Let's put in all borders rather. Yeah, lot better, lot better. And let's increase this. Yeah. Okay. Here, as you can see, there are values. Now, they'll always give you the cell addresses, but you have the option of editing. What is B2? Going back to sheet 3, we find that B2 is the price per item in foreign market. I can go to my scenario manager. I can change B2 to price in foreign market. And these are the values. The current value is 900. In scenario A, the value was 1000. In scenario B, the value is 1500. So if the value is 1000, the profitability is 317,000, which is lower than my current scenario, my current set of values. However, if it is 1500, it changes to 554,000. In this way, we can edit the remaining cells as well. If you want, you can change B4, B5 and B8 as well. It's up to you. There's no hard and fast rule regarding it, but it's up to you. So that was all about the various options that are available to us under what if analysis. I hope you find this video to be useful and meets all your criteria. If you have any doubts, please comment in the section given below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.